1 year and 3 days after its last hurrah, Myrtle Beach headlines the Cars eSport Tour schedule to continue the long-standing tradition of late models thundering around just off the South Carolina shoreline. Ryan Matthews looks to keep himself on top while others are left chasing, and it's all next on Pit Stop TV. Welcome to the virtual Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Eric Brennan alongside this evening. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and for the second time, there we go, in 2021, welcome to the Cars eSport Tour. Myrtle Beach Speedway is a classic place to watch a late model race, or at least was. August 15th, 2020 featured Dirty Myrtle's final race, broadcast for all to watch on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold. And now the track remains in a state of decaying limbo, and it's all up to sim racers on the iRacing.com platform to keep the track living on. And we're doing that here this evening, Eric, looking down from our scenic blimp, looking at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. It looks fantastic here in the sim. It looks like the day we were there last year, Trey Shuttlesworth and I were. And I mean, it looks like it's still in its prime here on the sim. So glad it's preserved for who knows how long, hopefully for eternity here on iRacing.
Perhaps one of the most beautiful things about sim racing and iRacing in general is its ability to preserve venues. And we've seen that on more than one occasion, and I am so thankful that they went ahead and went all in on assuring that, at least in a digital footprint sense, that this racetrack will remain alive because it's got so much character. I mean, we've seen a number of examples here just following this overhead view at the tail end of practice, but look at this shape. We talk about this being a short track and a half-mile oval. Where else in the country can you find a track that looks quite like this? It takes a lot of precision and practice to perfect your entry and exit to the on and off these corners, and it wears tires like crazy. And you see here just the overhead layout and view of this venue. So difficult to try to get into a bit of a rhythm, especially when you are dealing with differing handling conditions each and every lap, because it's like running on sandpaper. Compare it to that of an old school Rockingham or some of the other tracks in this quadrant of the country that just make tires wear so quickly. And unfortunately for these guys, they're only going to have one set in the pits when it comes race time, so they're going to have to nurse these tires from the very start of this event at this, now we'll call it, historic venue.
Yeah, talking about the shape of this place specifically, I think the only other track that you see a shape quite like this is Rockingham. This almost feels like a flattened out and shortened version of the Rockingham Speedway. It's kind of weird in that it has that kind of curved front stretch, and it's a very awkward setup for turn number 1. And of course, just like Rockingham, both walls at a turn 2 and turn 4 come up at you very quickly, so you got to be very careful on corner exit not to pick up the throttle even just that little bit too early. You will certainly pay for it, especially that wall on the backstretch. It's slanted over, cambered over against the racetrack a little bit in a weird way that really punishes you if you get into it. So Myrtle Beach, of course, is a tricky racetrack, and drivers are working all across the racetrack right now to bring in all kinds of different lines, practice for qualifying and such, and they are certainly getting a feel for this place. And we have some pretty warm weather, actually, mirroring that at least as it was scheduled, I guess, forecast last week. You can see 83, almost 84 degrees in the air, but we do have a little bit of cloud cover, Eric, that's breaking a little bit of the sun up. 103 on the racetrack and sustained winds around 10 miles an hour. Of course, again, the weather for the sim this evening is based on the forecast weather from days ago, so the wind and the temperature and everything else is based off that forecast. So as things go through the afternoon, we kind of get that monsoonal kind of deal, especially being right on the coast, where you get some storms popping up. We obviously can't have rain in the sim just yet, but we can have that higher wind as the afternoon goes on and some storms build up.
If these drivers didn't have enough already on their hands. I mean, you talked about getting the approach of the exit of the corner down to near perfection. We saw a couple of cars in a few of these overhead shots wash out and hit the wall right here just shy of the start-finish line. And having this little bit of an uptick in temperature as opposed to what some may have practiced on, that's going to be a little bit of a struggle and a handle that they're going to have to wrap their arms around. And one of my most recent memories of the Myrtle Beach Speedway was a Tour Type Modified event that took place about a year or two prior to its eventual demise. And I remember watching the field pretty much split in two. You had a handful of drivers who went full bore from the drop of the green. The rest elected to pretty much ride around, not even exaggerating, at about half throttle. It was a similar day compared to this. Very hot, very steamy, made the track even more slick than what its normal characteristics was. So I think if when we get down to race time, we may see, not to overuse the term, a lot of comers and goers for those two very specific variables that we've touched on. The track itself and the weather conditions. Two big things we're going to be keeping an eye on.
Take a look around the racetrack a little bit as we bring up our standings going into this race. Of course, this is not our first race for the Cars eSport Tour. We had one previous event back at the North Wilkesboro Speedway in which Ryan Matthews took victory, leading almost every single lap. If I remember correctly, it was 74 of the 75 that were raced. Alex McCullum came in second. You can see him there in second place. Michael Bumgardner in third, and so on and so forth. Jared Jackson, Robbie Keneally, Brandon Mettler in sixth, Blake Neer in seventh, Steele Langford eighth, Jake Brooks, and I believe it would be James Fox. Yes, James Fox make up the rest of your top 10. Garrett Fox checks in at 11th. Caleb Hall in 12th. Matthew Robinson 13th. Then Cole Fralick, Cole Quinton, Trayton Lapsovich. In fact, a big Pinty's Series driver and getting into some modified racing as well here. Trayton Lapsovich, good to have him in the field. We also have Anthony Adams in that 18 car. Brandon Mefford in 18th position of the points. Austin Purnell comes in 19th. And Cameron Bolin, last season's track champion at Greenville Pickens Speedway, comes in at 20th.
Looking at the names and the rosters that make up this point standing, and also some of the entries that we have here tonight. And, although we didn't see the exact presence, or it doesn't match the exact names that you would see on a Cars Tour event, we do have a lot of really top-tier talent, not just from the sim racing platform, but a lot of these guys have a lot of accolades in the regular world of motorsports. But, Andrew, we got a new entry in the field tonight who I know that you're pretty excited about here for the second race of the season, and I think he's already starting to prove, by virtue of the stopwatch, he could be a contender tonight. Yeah,
Justin Johnson sitting fourth in the real Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour standings is joining us this evening. He is currently in fifth in practice, so we'll see a little bit more of Justin Johnson here in a little bit, but these are our current late model stock car standings in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. Bobby McCarty currently leading the way. Caden Honeycutt in second, just 3 points out. Jared Fryer sitting just 6 points out of the race, points lead. And you can see Justin Johnson only 10 points out. Zeke McCaskill 19. Sam Yarborough, the actual winner of the last race here at Myrtle Beach last year, sits in sixth in the standings. Minnie Terrell, after his fantastic run in the Throwback 276 at Hickory Motor Speedway, he sits seventh. Brandon Pearson eighth. Daniel Silvestri picking up his first win of his Cars Tour career back at Dominion in June. He sits in ninth, and Lane Riggs is 10th. But to have Justin Johnson, somebody that's fourth place in the real Cars Tour, the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, join us this evening for the Cars eSport Tour is really something special.
I remember Justin back when he ran a couple of truck races for what was then called Vision Aviation Racing. It was actually teamed up with Dusty Davis, who had an ownership stake in the Kart Track GoPro Motorplex out here in Mooresville for quite some time. As a matter of fact, he was one of the managers of that venue before moving on to greater things. But Justin Johnson has come back onto the scene in full force. He's someone who has been fast and competitive on the Cars Tour side of as you can tell by the championship standings that are in front of you. But after seeing his name pop up here, he very quickly appeared to get kind of acclimated to this tough track under these tough weather conditions, and I think it's going to up the ante as far as the level of prestige for this type of esports event, because as you mentioned, Andrew, a lot of these racers, who some of which are up and comers, some of which are very versed in the iRacing platform, they're getting a chance to go up against not just somebody who shows up and runs on the Cars Tour, but they show up and they compete for victory quite often. Justin Johnson has upped the ante on the field here tonight by his presence.
Yeah, I mean, Justin won the first time out, in fact, in the same state as Myrtle Beach, the state of South Carolina, rather, down at Dillon Motor Speedway, where you'll be next week. Fun fact there. But yeah, Justin Johnson's got 2 wins of the season at Dillon, and later on in the season at Caraway Speedway in, I got to think about that one. I know where it is. Sophia, North Carolina, that's where it is. He's got 2 wins on the tour. He has been bad fast all season long, and somebody that you don't want to mess with. I mean, he has just been good here in 2021. 2021, and I can't wait to see how that translates over to the sim this evening. So far, it's translating pretty darn well. We take a look at the tour schedule here, Eric, and we can see some fantastic tracks on the list, even adding the Hickory Motor Speedway for September 22nd. A little bit of an audible call there. Initially, Langley was scheduled to be in the 4th spot, and another track in 3rd, but moving Hickory into that 4th spot. We'll get that out eventually. I tried to mix spot and slot there, but anyways, Hickory Motor Speedway in at race number 4 is going to be pretty darn cool, and then followed up by South Boston and Rockingham. I mean, these are tracks that you either have or you can still see Cars Tour action at, and especially with Rockingham later in the year, these are all pretty darn special racetracks.
They all carry their own unique and individual characteristics. Some may not be as abrasive as a Myrtle Beach or a Hickory, but they do offer the short track feel that the Cars Tour is all about. And I know, Andrew, you're one of the fortunate ones who's oftentimes able to travel with the tour all season long by virtue of your work with the Cars Tour TV side of things. But the pinnacle of late model racing, truly in this quadrant of the country, used to be represented back in the day by what was the Pro Cup Tour. The Cars Tour has slowly evolved into what it is today, and that is, I'll call it the powerhouse of late model series, and not just in this quadrant of the country, but I'll say in the country. And these tracks that we have, albeit 2 of them carry some historical context, our season opener at North Wilkesboro and tonight's event at Myrtle Beach, but like you mentioned, Langley, Hickory, South Boston, and Rockingham is an event which I know we've had to move things around, but over the last year, we've had to move a lot of things around. I'm excited to see how that race unfolds on the eSport side on October 27th, but I'm also really keeping my attention on the actual Cars Tour event that will take place there later this season. I don't know how you could tie things better together than having that series and that track come together for an event like they're planning. A lot of work was done to try to get that place race ready. I know that even our friends on the Cars TV side of things went out there and made sure that they had everything they needed in order to be able to put on a production for a track of that nature. And there's a lot of anticipation for that season finale that will take place on the esports side, as well as for the actual race that we hope to see in a couple of months.
Yeah, and we could just say it. I mean, we are actually streaming to Cars Tour and to Pit Road TV. Head on over to carstour.tv and pitrow.tv to check out when the next Cars Tour race will be live on each. And the next one coming up, actually, is at Motor Mile Speedway up in Radford, Virginia. So if you're in the area, by all means, head on over, come say hi, and check out what will be a fantastic night of racing. If you cannot be there in person, I invite you and heavily suggest that you get a subscription to carstour.tv today and make sure you watch along for the action. In fact, a lot of the drivers in this series do help out with the broadcast. I take part in helping out with my fair share with the Pit Road TV crew, as well as several drivers throughout the field as practice continues on for another minute and change. Some of those drivers being, let's look through the times here. The first one checks in 13th position, but he does sit in the 6th place in the points. Brandon Mettler in the number 15 car. You can see BAM Racing videos, PRN at the track, JRA Shocks on his car, including Pit Road TV and the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour logo. Let's also not forget Trey Patton, our mobile cameraman in the number 01. He's out here this evening. We've also got Jacob Baticki out there in the number 13 car, and they are all teammates as well, competing under the same banner. There's Jacob Baticki, Lenny Baticki's son, sporting the JRA Shocks number 13 cars. So really cool to have all of them come on into the series, as well as several other drivers that are around the short track ranks, and including Justin Johnson in the 44 car, the Per Your Tank Lines number 44, getting up to speed once again.
Love the wide range of competitors that we have as we watch Justin Johnson enter the racetrack. You talked about a lot of the members who are part of the Cars Tour TV element of it. I mean, Jacob Baticki just this past weekend was helping out with some pet sitting duties while me and my wife were away. So he's truly a jack of all trades. But I also love the fact, like Alex McCullum, we've seen him compete in a number of different facets of motorsports. In fact, Todd McCullum, who is in that family as well, I watched him race legend cars up at Wall Stadium Speedway in the early 2010s. All these drivers who are so talented, mixing it in with our crew members who help bring the races to those who cannot be in the grandstands, not on the virtual sense, of course, where we have the real Cars Tour events. To see everybody come together in this fashion and to put on an event like this, and it truly helps raise a little bit of awareness for the Stock Car Series. Before, as you mentioned, they get back in action in just a couple of weeks' time. It's a fun way to spend a Wednesday, that's for sure.
Absolutely. It's a good way to spend weekends as well. So, by all means, you can go to carsracingtour.com to check out more about the Cars Tour. As qualifying is getting underway for the Cars eSport Tour. Cole Fralick, one of the first to hit the speedway in the Apex Action number 26 late model stock car. He'll come around turn number 4 and get his time underway. These onboard shots are going to be a fun one here at Myrtle Beach this afternoon. We're working, I believe, I'll have to double check what I even sent to the drivers. I believe it's about 4 or 5 o'clock in sim, and you can see the sunset off in the distance. One thing that I will say that just sticks in my memory from being at the track last year, and especially being on the roof on the camera, is the way the sunset cast across the racetrack, especially with clouds in the sky and rain in the sky and everything else, as Fralick goes P1.
It's certainly a beautiful optic for sure, and the sim does an amazing job at encapsulating that exact moment here as Fralick goes off into turn number 3. The one thing I'm going to be looking for here, and you mentioned this a little bit off air, we'll now pass the info off to our viewers. A little bit of a different format here than what we had at North Wilkesboro, and I'll let you touch on that for a moment, but this qualifying lap for all these competitors matters in a big way. We're actually going to lock in a number of these drivers, 12 total, to be in this race. I'm not sure if the entry list is growing to a point where we're going to be sending guys home, but the way in which you get around this racetrack and where you elect to try to apex the corner is going to play a big role in how fast your lap time is, and you could get it wrong very, very easily. Some drivers have taken like a double apex approach, entering very low in 3, washing up a little bit, coming back down to the bottom off turn 4. Others are just trying a single apex approach, trying to maybe get the left sides as low as possible in the middle of 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. So far, though, it looks as though that Bumgarner has figured it out the most by nearly 0.2 of a second. Michael Bumgarner is fastest, but still a lot of heavy hitters still to go, like Gregory Smith, who's P2 for now. We'll see what he does on his next lap across the line.
These drivers only get 2 laps to qualify, but they get 10 minutes to do it. So you can see only 6 drivers have turned a time. A lot of these guys waiting a little bit deeper in this session to get their time in for qualifying. Colton Everingham on the speedway. You saw Gregory Smith and Austin Purnell in the number 32 car. He moves up into the 5th spot. Now Justin Johnson has put a time down. He goes 8th. And he got the wall as well. He got the wall pretty good, either on his out lap or his first lap. I'd imagine not his first lap, considering he's still rolling around and will take another time. Where does Justin go? It looks like he doesn't improve. So definitely some qualifying woes for Justin Johnson, somebody who was pretty quick in practice.
That was somebody who we expected to see up towards the front of the line. Right now, 8th of the 8 cars have taken time. Now kicked back into the 9th position as we watch our next driver navigate their way down the back straightaway. And how about climbing the backstretch wall? That was Dustin Monburquette, who got a little bit high there off turn number 2. And that's certainly not the way in which you want to get around this racetrack. Brandon Mettler is next to try to get through that sector of the speedway. He keeps all 4 tires groundward. Let's see what he can do on the stopwatch.
And we'll see if he puts the time in. He does. He goes 8th quick so far. And he could be on the bubble here of making into the feature automatically. You mentioned some drivers locking in, so think of the NASCAR Daytona duels, where they lock in a couple of drivers from qualifying and the rest have to do dual heat races. Well, we're taking some inspiration from that, but changing it up a good little bit as we ride on board with Anthony Adams, who now sits 9th in qualifying. These drivers, 12 of these drivers, in fact, from qualifying will move on straight to the feature. That means they get a chance to watch the heat races and pick up a little bit of info potentially from the heat races, as Mettler is up to 4th in qualifying. A strong run from Bam, as now Cole Quinton works into turn number 1. Everybody else who doesn't quite make the top 12 in qualifying, they get a chance to run the dual heat races, as I mentioned, heat race 1 and heat race 2, to try and work their way in. We'll take 6 drivers from each heat race. That gives us a field of 24, which is a big difference from our field of 33 last week at North Wilkesboro, and we're getting close. In fact, we are a little bit past that threshold, I believe by 1 or 2 cars, to send somebody home.
Now we've just seen our first bump out of being locked into the field, and I think we're all relatively surprised that it's that of Justin Johnson, who just got knocked down to 13th in a running order. Here's Jacob Paticki. We'll see what he could do in his number 13 ride. As we mentioned, he's one of the many drivers in the field who help out on the production front of bringing the Cars Tour races to the masses, but he's also a pretty good little sim racer as well. So we'll see if he can lock his way in the top 12, as we have Joyner moving up to P2, and here comes Paticki to tag the wall off 4. That's going to hurt the lap time for sure, and it looks like he will not be able to get that lap in this time through. Let's see what he can do on lap 2.
And remember, here on the iRacing.com service, if you catch a wall and he just got the wall again on the backstretch, if you touch the wall or if you get any kind of contact or off track, it invalidates your lap time. So both of those scrapes will invalidate his couple of lap times during qualifying, and he, well, it does give him credit for that one, actually. So he must have just barely grazed the wall enough to where it still counted it, and he goes, it looks like, 15th quick on the timing charts, only faster than Justin Johnson, who pounded the wall. Here's Caleb Hall in the number 98 car. He's on the speedway, as well as Ryan Matthews, last week's winner. And you see, these guys are starting to play a little bit of qualifying games, which is okay. They can run up there on the entry to turn 3 on their out lap and get a nice run down this front stretch, and it's so important as well.
The angle of your approach and exit to the corner, and even when you get back to the throttle, we've been talking a lot about corner exit. The first ingredient to that is when you decide to slowly apply pressure to the loud pedal once again coming off the corner. And it seems like some of these guys are trying to will their way into staying in the gas once they get back to it. And now Matthews, he seems to have it figured out. By 0.06 of a second, last week's winner, or I should say the last time out's winner at North Wilkesboro, Ryan Matthews, is at the top of the charts by 0.06 of a second with 3.5 minutes to go.
On the speedway now, we've got one of our legend car drivers in the field, Zachary Myrtle from the Stillwell Racing Camp. He just completed a whole summer of summer shootout down at Charlotte Motor Speedway. That was all broadcast live on Track Pass and NBC Sports Gold. You can go back and watch those races as well. So glad to have been a part of that for the entire summer. He's picked up a lot from a lot of drivers that he's raced with in summer shootout and other legend car competition. One of those being Justice Calabro, who is one of the drivers in the series but is not here this evening. Zachary a little bit tight out of turn 4. Hopefully he can, hopefully he can kind of still get a run together. He goes 9th quickest, which is not all that bad, all things considered. Matthew Robinson now on the speedway as well. Another one of our Virginia drivers. Maybe he can make it out to our race at Motor Mile in a couple of weeks.
Robinson's going to trip across the start-finish line here. Again, the primary goal is to be up in that top 12. As we see, Trey Patton has a lap on the board, and Trey Patton's going to have a spin in turn 1. I was about to say he's one of the heavy hitters still left to go here. His first lap was not good enough by any stretch. In fact, out of the top 20, he's 22nd, and this second time through sent him for a semi-slide in turns 1 and 2. Perhaps the biggest heavy hitter who has yet to lay down a lap is that of Alex McCullum. That is the only car in the session that I do not see out there just yet, and there he is, the New Jersey native on the back straightaway trying to challenge Matthews for pole as he comes off turn 4.
So Alex McCullum down to turn number 1. How does he do? That time is not good for a pole, but it's good for second place. Just 1/100th of a second off of Ryan Matthews for the driver of the 1 car, Alex McCullum. How about that? That leaves us with about a minute and a half of qualifying. You can see the current pending lineup on the left side of the screen. Ryan Matthews taking pole, then McCullum, Bumgarner, Joyner, Monburquette, and on down through the lineup. We will take a step aside momentarily. We'll be right back to you with coverage for heat racing here in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of 2 products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Welcome back to the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway. Heat 1 is about to get underway for the Cars eSport Tour. It's round number 2 of 2021, and on pole for heat number 1, it's going to be the driver out of Kentucky, Cole Fralick in the number 26, alongside somebody in the number that he likes best, actually, Brandon Mettler. Will start from the outside here in heat number 1. Starting third this evening in our first heat, it's going to be James Fox in the 58 car with Austin Purnell to his outside. You can see everybody gritting up in the pit lane here. Starting from the 5th spot, it's going to be Matthew Robinson, and starting in the final transfer spot, it's Robbie Keneally in the number 101 car. He scored as the 101, but he is the 1 car. Starting 7th this evening, the first car out to begin with will be Joshua Balliet in the number 7 car. Garrett Fox to his outside. Starting in the 9th position, it's Wally Wilson. Starting 10th, it's Anthony Adams.
Back to our next page of drivers. Trey Patton in the 01 after the semi-spin in qualifying. 11th outside Colton Everingham in the 48 in 12th spot. Take you back down to 13, Jacob Atiki and Justin Johnson taking you back through your 7 rows that we have of 14 starters, all vying, as Andrew Cardinale IV mentioned, to be up to the top 6 for an opportunity to earn their way into tonight's feature event, where the top 12 have locked their way in through qualifying already.
You can see those are the only 14 cars that we have running. Now, what's interesting here, and this is something iRacing does with lower car counts, they don't want to run 2 small heats. So what we're doing is we're actually combining into 1 heat, it seems. Otherwise, it'd only be dropping 1 driver out of each. So the transfer spot now becomes 12th position here, Eric. That means the only 2 drivers that are starting on the outside looking in are Jake Baticki and Justin Johnson. So we're combining everybody into that is still remaining, the other 14 cars, into 1 heat, running it for only 20 laps, just like was planned, but 12 move on. So it's going to change things up a lot for these drivers. The thing to keep in mind here with iRacing, so if you're a driver wondering, if you're a fan wondering, or whatever, what iRacing does is it combines the field up a little bit, but it will still take the same amount of drivers. It will not change the amount of drivers that you specify to start in the race. It will still take 24 for the start of the race, but it just changes how many transfer potentially to combine things down, consolidate things down, and combine the program a little bit. So again, the only 2 drivers on the outside looking in, they're starting back here, Jake Baticki in the 13 car and Justin Johnson in the 44. In fact, there is the Per Your Tank Line's 44 car as he paces around the speedway. So we will come around, we will take the green flag momentarily here, Eric. 14 cars, 12 spots available, 20 laps to do it.
I think objective number 1, stay out of trouble. Don't take damage, don't get turned around. If you're running middle of the pack, just try to stay there, get in the show.
That's absolutely the objective for all of these drivers. Leading us to the first green flag of the evening, Cole Fralick in the 26 car. Out of turn number 4, 14 cars will kick off the evening. Green flag flies from Myrtle Beach. Everybody working down the back stretch. You can see the top 2 getting away. That's Cole Fralick in front of Brandon Mettler. The battle is on for 3rd place on back. James Fox has it for now, and out of turn 4, 1 lap complete.
Double wide behind him as Fox solidifies that 3rd spot for the time being. Nearly 3 wide behind him as they came into turn 1. They somehow made it work. Fox holding down 3rd. We drop back to Robinson, who's on the low line. And that's Purnell, who's bobbing and weaving in the green and silver car. Now sliding his way to the inside. Trapped up top is Keneally, losing a few spots there on the outside lane.
Things have just gotten a lot easier for everybody as it looks like Anthony Adams has missed the show as 1 car is sliding up front. That was James Fox in all kinds of trouble. He falls back as Mettler goes purple on lap number 2. Now it's lap 3 into turns 3 and 4. Balliet almost gets into Purnell and everybody dances on behind as Mettler is starting to put pressure on Fralick for the lead.
Look at a good run off turn 4. Look to the inside. Fralick's going to hold that spot for now. I think that was Baticki who almost caught the inside wall. No, check that. That looks like that's Everingham who got really low on the bottom of the racetrack. He gets loose off of turn 2. Hang on. He's going to fall back to 3rd to last in line with Johnson in a transfer position. Baticki outside looking in as we hit the quarter distance mark.
This is our transfer battle as it looks like Mettler's to the inside for the race lead. He's down there. He's trying on the inside of the 26 car. Cole Freilich shuts the door to turn 3. Robinson in tow. But that is the transfer battle back there. Justin Johnson currently in that final transfer spot, but Ticky wants it.
Battle for the lead, though, is also hot and heavy, and a good dress rehearsal for how we can expect to see moves be made tonight. I love the way that Matthew Robinson's driving this track. Look at this. Cuts it under with a late apex off turn 2. Fender inside of Mettler for the battle for second. Robinson's going to try to draw alongside off 4. He washes wide, keeps it off the side of Mettler, and they're side by side for the runner-up spot. Freilich opening up a few car lanes on this battle.
Freilich starting to gap those two as they stay side by side. Matthew Robinson now down low of Brandon Mettler, and the Mooresville, Indiana driver on the outside can't quite hang the 34 on through to second place. These guys at this point are just racing for a starting position. It's still that battle further back in the field here, Eric, that is for the transfer, and Justin Johnson's getting closer.
Right now, Johnson is doing everything possible to hold on to that 12th spot for the time being. Everingham and Patton, the two cars up ahead, 48 and 01 respectively, and we've seen moments by both drivers as they've gotten very loose several times. Everingham way up the hill. Oh, I don't know if he caught the wall, but Johnson's alongside.
And Jacob Aticki is the only car out of this entire field that is currently on the outside looking in. He's running out of time to get in as, a little bit of contact there down the backstretch. Justin Johnson maybe into the side of the 48 car a little bit as they're starting to stack up ahead of Aticki here. They're really getting at it up here for about the 9th position or so, it looks like. Fox down to the inside of Fox.
Aticki looks like he had a little bit of damage there on the right front. Here's a battle of Foxes, as you said, Andrew, as they come off the corner. That's a big hit there on the outside, and that's what Aticki needs. He needs somebody to have a big problem up ahead of him to allow him to pull back up and get a shot to take back one of the transfer spots here as they're side by side up ahead of him.
Patton down to the inside of Garrett Fox, trying to take that spot away as Everingham gets back in front of Johnson for the 11th position. These guys still mixing things up as Baticki's starting to reel him in a little bit. Everingham now down low with Garrett Fox, who climbed the wall a couple of laps ago. Everingham sweeps up high. They're almost 3 wide, and this is backing a perfectly clean 44 car on up to the 13 as Jacob Baticki starts to close some more. Justin Johnson's there on the back end of Everingham, and they stay side by side.
Ham's car has been loose on entry, loose in the middle, loose on block, spin. That's Garrett Fox sideways. He saves it.
What a save, and I think some of that coming potentially from netcode there. As you can see, the yellow 44 is blinking a little bit. Some troubles there for the connection of Justin Johnson, but it benefits him actually because now Garrett Fox is in the gun sights of Jacob Baticki, who wants to transfer into the feature.
How bad does Baticki want to get there? Granted, these races are being watched diligently by race control, so you don't want to be too aggressive unless you absolutely have to. Baticki is trying to not match the car number in his finishing position in this heat race. He's got to get up to and past Garrett Fox, and a lot of the battles in the top 10 have settled out here in the closing stages, so he may have to do this on his own. And he is starting to lose ground to Garrett Fox once again here, and the hourglass is starting to tick by. Time is running out for Jacob Baticki.
A caution does not look likely for the 13 car. He's going to have to get up there and do it on his own. Meanwhile, Robinson is sorted out in front of Mettler for now, but here comes Keneally on the inside of the 15 car to shake things up. The Wiley X #1 car down to the bottom of Brandon Mettler. He takes that spot away in turn 1.
But this is getting me really excited for the feature event a little bit later on from now. We've already got some comers and goers in this field, and the big comer right now is Keneally up to third, looking for more. Robinson peeks down to the inside. Freilich still holds the top spot, but they have caught him. Now Keneally dives low for second on Robinson.
Balliette's working his way up as well as Wally Wilson is now in 5th. And some contact there. Door slamming out of turn 2 were Keneally and Robinson. Now down to turn 3, and you can see the 34 car up the track just a little bit. Further back, Justin Johnson has worked in front of Trey Patton and Colton Everingham, and Jacob Baticki for a moment was a lot closer to Garrett Fox. That 13 car continues to just kind of fall off pace. He tries a bit of a lunge down to turn 1. He's got 3 laps to do it.
Best hope for Baticki may be one to keep it off the wall. He got very
here it
close
is!
that time. Here it is. That's a look down low. Kick at the fender inside.
That looked like he was taking complete aim at the back end of the 85 car, didn't it? Or at least to the inside. He's trying, and there, that time he goes down to the inside. This is for the transfer, and Fox gives him a shot in the shorts, moves him a tiny bit, but he doesn't falter. Jake Paticki has just taken the transfer spot, but it's not over.
Fox going to have a chance to get him back while Freilich still holds the lead. They come to the line here. White flag presented by Tucson Sound Art. Freilich's out front. This is the battle for the transfer spot.
It looks like for now, Paticki might have it down to turns 3 and 4, though. Cole Freilich is going to lead out of turn number 4, and Cole Freilich wins Heat 1, well, the only heat at Myrtle Beach for the Cars eSport Tour. Keneally second, back for that transfer spot. It's going to be across the line. Jake Paticki, my technical director at Pit Road TV, moves into the feature.
I don't want to play too much bias here, but that's also the best pet sitter you'll find in Mooresville. So happy to see Jake is going to have a little bit of additional time on the platform here tonight. Heartbreaker for Garrett Fox, though. I mean, that's somebody who was running in the top 10 at one point in this race and caught the wall very hard off of turn number 2, while alongside James Fox the second, and it seemed like that did enough damage to that car for him to fall all the way back into the 13th spot. But Justin Johnson races his way in, Paticki races his way in, and Cole Freilich makes a bit of a statement. That's a strong car, held off a lot of heavy hitters, going to be starting outside the top 12, but he's certainly going to be fun to watch.
In case you're wondering, we did still lock 12 drivers in from qualifying, those 12 being Ryan Matthews on pole, Alex McCullum second, then Michael Bumgardner, Ryan Joyner, Dustin Monberquette, your top 5. Caleb Hall will start from 6th, then Brian Dickens, Gregory Smith, Cole Quinton, and Jared Jackson. Out of Elizabeth, North Carolina, starting in 10th, Steele Langford and Zachary Myrtle will start 11th and 12th. So close to having to race through the heats, but thankfully they will move on straight through to the feature. So it's a 24-car field at the Myrtle Beach Speedway, round number 2 for the 2021 Cars eSport Tour. So glad to have you here. So glad to have you watching this evening on Pit Stop TV. We're going to take one more step away before we get feature racing here in a little bit. This is a 5-minute warm-up for these drivers to get back into the swing of things and go feature racing. Don't go anywhere.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway. Just over a minute left in warm-up, and you can see we're getting down to sunset hours here. This warm-up session started at 7:25 in the sim, so we are bang on, perfectly timed actually. It's 7:25 here on the East Coast, so I mean this is perfect. This is what it looks like currently on August the 18th, or at least close enough, pretty darn close for the sim, how it looks in Myrtle Beach. Sunset is looming for these drivers. Light is dwindling, and those lights are about to come on, Eric.
That means that the track is actually going to change a little bit. It's going to be the same difficult type of venue that we outlined in the introduction of our program tonight with, it's a little bit oblong shape, not necessarily symmetrical on both ends as far as corner entry and exit. Here's a look at it here. Andrew Cardinale IV did a great reference to Rockingham, which ironically is our season finale on the eSports Tour. Also, that's where the Big Cars Tour event is taking place on November 6th later this season. So it's not symmetrical in the sense of how you drive it, but the added heat and elements do change the way in which all 4 of those tires have to stick to the pavement with these late model stock cars, and we see a lot of guys wash up wide off turn 4 and turn 2, catch the wall, and it hamper their efforts here on the night. I believe that's one of the things that bit Garrett Fox and prevented him an opportunity for transferring through. If you do that in the race, you may not be able to come back from it. So even though the sun is starting to set, things are starting to cool off a little bit on the sim, I still think this track is going to be as tough. But if the heat race was any indication, we are in for a thriller tonight. That was some great racing, and I expect that trend to continue.
And something these drivers have to keep in mind is they no longer have that faster pair to lean on. They have the one car for the entire race, and that's it. As you can see, it gets a couple of minutes later, it looks like, in the sim. So, yeah, we are in the sunset hours properly here in the virtual Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Let's take a look at our 24-car starting grid. Starting on pole, it is Ryan Matthews, last week's winner out at North Wilkesboro. We're at Myrtle Beach this week, and he starts on pole again out of Mechanicsville, Virginia. Starting to his outside, it's Phillipsburg's own Alex McCollum. Some of these town names, they give me trouble. But Michael Bumgardner will start to the third place position. Ryan Joyner in his outside, starting in 4th. Starting 5th is none other than Dustin Monburquette to the inside of Caleb Hall. Some very fast drivers towards the top of the order. Brian Dickens starts from the 7th spot. Gregory Smith out of Jacksonville, North Carolina, starting in 8th. Cole Quinton starts 9th, and to round out the top 10, it is Elizabeth City's, North Carolina's Jared Jackson in the number 12 car.
Final 2 cars to lock their way in qualifying with Steele Langford into 33 and outside Zachary Mertes in the 102. They will round out our top 12 who locked their way into qualifying. Now we get back to the heat race. Cole Fralick led every lap in that 20-lap contest. Then Robbie Keneally, who is 5th in the points, going to start back at 14th spot. It'll be fun to watch him in what will be numbered as car 1 tonight. Matthew Robinson, the 34, was very strong, as was Brandon Mettler, top 5 in that heat race all night long. 16th starting position for him here. 17th will be Wally Wilson in the 69. Outside the 7 is Joshua Balliet in 18th. And rounding out our top 20 starters is going to be that of Austin Purnell in the 32 and James Fox in the 58.
Starting in the 21st spot, it is 2-time 2021 Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour Late Model Stock Race winner, say that 5 times fast, Justin Johnson. Starting from the 21st position in the Per Year Tank Lions 44 with Trey Patton to his outside, and starting shotgun on each row, it's going to be Colton Everingham and Jacob Baticki just making it into the feature. Pace car is already tearing down to the pit lane. That means we are about to go feature racing in the Cars eSport Tour at Myrtle Beach Speedway. Slowly through turns 3 and 4, sunset in full effect. Green flag is out. Matthews leads us across the stripe. The entire field of 24 down to turns 3 and 4. Matthews still leading, close behind. It's McCollum at caution is out in the back. Trey Patton in trouble.
Tough break for Patton. I believe I also saw Robinson perhaps in the 34 was the other car involved here. No, check that. That's the 12 that went for a little bit of a slide in that skirmish with Patton. That is Jared Jackson who went around. Looked very similar to that of Robinson's number 34 car, but Patton was someone who had trouble on his qualifying lap, kind of put him behind the 8 ball and didn't make up much ground in the heat race, so he was somebody who did start towards the back of the field, though. Jackson, however, was a little bit closer towards the front here, right in the midfield when this incident took place. We'll take you back here to the start. You see him lining up here outside of row 5, rounded out our top 10, did that of Jared Jackson. And I believe I got a quick glimpse of them trying to go 3 wide in turn 3, but we'll have to see how it all unfolded here at the end of the back straightaway.
That's still Langford now poking to his inside. Murta's behind, and just a little bit of contact. Langford turns him around. Oh, Keneally and Mettler barely get by. There's where Patton slowed down. No further contact in that spin. I don't know how. I genuinely don't know how. What a spin and what a couple of misses.
Consider the width of this racetrack and how narrow that approach to turn 3 can be, and the fact that Jackson's entire car was taking up more than half the available roadway, maybe left a car width and a car width only between his back bumper and the outside retaining wall. It is miraculous that the field was able to find that much space to get by this. Look at everybody wedging their way through there, while there was 2 lanes for the rest of the pack to clear down low, even if they stayed double wide. But unfortunately, Andrew, the yellow flag fever that we saw in North Wilkesboro, I'm not going to say that it's transferred totally over to Myrtle Beach just yet, but this is not the type of way we wanted to start things off here tonight, especially after we went 20 straight laps for the most part clean in the heat race.
Well, it's not over, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to continue past this. That was a small yellow to have on, just a tiny little bit of contact from Steele. That was about the least bit of contact you can have at Myrtle Beach while still having a spin. So that wasn't too big of a deal from those guys racing for that spot, about 11th or 12th on the racetrack. And I'd imagine we should get into a nice little rhythm here after a little bit, as do a little bit of contact from our race leaders as they come around to take the green flag. They are waiting around to the restart zone. Ryan Matthews does have to wait until that red line on the outside of turn 4. Then he can gas it up. You can see McCullum trying to guess it, has to wait, and the green flag is back out at Myrtle Beach. Down the backstretch one more time, Jared Jackson goes fastest that lap, catching back up to the field. They battle side by side for the race lead of 3 and 4.
McCullum trying to make the outside work here. Hanging tough there up top of Ryan Matthews, the North Wilkesboro winner and pole sitter, but he may have to hold it down there as Matthews tries to shove him wide a little bit through the middle of 1 and 2. Things get tight on corner exit, and McCullum nearly scrubs the wall there with the right side. He's hanging with him, though, still side by side for the lead.
You can see Matthews trying on the bottom side, but I think that top is going to prevail overall. McCullum might have had the lead at the line as now he kind of dog walks it off into turn 1. That's easy to do if you dial a bit of rear brake bias into this car. You can easily get the rear end unsettled down to turn 1. It's not quite wheel hop, but it's darn close.
Right now, McCullum's best. Oh, got trouble. Turn 3. A couple of cars sideways. I saw them stack it up there on the far side of our frame, and the caution's going to fly for the second time tonight. And we have a couple of cars, including our heat race winner, Cole Freilich. He has been on a stretch of bad luck in just about every race and every series he has entered. He loves getting strapped into his virtual late model here, and after dominating the heat race, he has significant damage to the right rear and front of that race car.
And this one is also going to involve Steele Langford. You can see Cole was looking 3 outside of turn 2. Thinks better of it. Zachary Myrtis down low. And right here in turn 3, Cole just gets a little piece of Langford. And it's, again, just a small bit of contact. Turns at 33 around. Nowhere for Wally Wilson to go.
Fortunate there for those 3 who got tied up there in the corner. And Wally Wilson was someone who I thought was going to take a much bigger hit at my first glance there when I watched that black and blue car try to navigate his way through. But that's the tight quarters racing that late model stock cars oftentimes provide here in some of these circumstances, where you're trying to keep pace with the line that's moving, and just that slight little nudge to the left rear that sent that car around. And A.C. Wilson going by, and hello turn 4 signage there up against the concrete. Second caution of the race here that will slow this field, and it may be a saving grace for Alex McCullum, who at the time appeared to be losing a little bit of steam in that second lane, and I think he was in danger of falling further back through the field. This is going to give him an opportunity potentially to line up once again on the outside of that front row and see if he's got anything for Matthews in that top spot.
Being told from race control, there is an EOL issued to the driver of the 26 car, Cole Freilich. The only thing that's going to do is put him behind Steele Langford. So that might be the one EOL of Cole Freilich's life that he doesn't get upset about. And I don't mean that to Cole Freilich at all. I just think, of course, you get an EOL, you're not going to be happy about it. But in this case, I think anybody could be okay with only losing 1 spot into that end of the field already. Cole Freilich gets the EOL, goes behind Steele Langford, and will line up at the end of the longest line. A couple of pit stops already in this race, those coming so far from Jared Jackson and Steele Langford, and I believe James Fox, who has apparently parked it this evening, but everybody else is coming back around to take the green flag one more time. Ryan Matthews, race leader, still on the bottom side, gets things rolling. We're back green from Myrtle Beach. Here comes Joyner. He looks to the inside of McCullum. Can't quite get there. They go single file the top three. Caleb Hall gets a piece of Bumgarner and moves the 97 out of the way up to fourth.
Gardner is kind of trapped up in that high side there in that red number 97. He'll slot down here ahead of Mom Burkett, who, remember, despite climbing the wall in qualifying, Mom Burkett had a pretty strong second lap and now is running up in the top 5. May not be done yet. Going to try to work on Hall here. We look back now to Bumgarner, who slotted into 6th position, single file throughout the first half of the top 10, as Bumgarner arrives on the scene in turn 2, trying to get back up into that top 5 as they exit the corner.
Oh, Dickens got the wall hard out of turn 2. He slides back, it looks like, to potentially the grip of a couple of drivers behind. I can't quite... Oh, that's Keneally, actually. Keneally and it looks like Smith side by side behind him, but they battle through the entire top 5, top 6, all single file as, man, I mean, this is just Ryan Matthews starting to show that he is the guy to beat. Even though last week was a caution fest and he was able to defend on restarts, he's quick.
Research as to how that race unfolded at North Wilkesboro. The box score, of course, showed that things were a little bit hectic with all the caution flags. So this is an opportunity for Matthews to kind of come out here and prove that the success that he had there was no fluke by any stretch. So granted, we know he's a talented individual, talented racer, talented sim racer, but this is a chance here to come to a track that's a little bit wider, a little bit more forgiving, a little less cars than what we had at North Wilkesboro, and now has to try to do what he did at North Wilkesboro. No irony there that the top 2 there are running top 2 in this race, also top 2 in the standings. While Bumgarner rides in 6th, he was 3rd in points coming into the night, but so far, these two, with Matthews and McCullum, have been virtually inseparable for the first stint of this race.
And it's going to be hard to separate them through the remaining 4 races as well. I mean, these two are the guys to beat through and through in every single race that we've got on the calendar, all the way down through Langley, Hickory, South Boston, and Rockingham. Watch out for Matthews and McCullum getting some green flag racing in. I'll knock on wood. Only because of how last week went, but I'm loving this dynamic of seeing the cars and seeing the tires start to wear, and these drivers have to start to think about a bit of a longer run as Quentin works on Bumgarner here. That would be for the 6th position if Quentin can get it away.
Tires starting to wear. One element that we have to keep in mind, only 1 spare set. You mentioned no fast repair for anybody who collects damage in an incident. Only 1 set of tires, or change tires, I'll say, in the pit area should these drivers elect to come down and take it, as Keneally has been one of the biggest movers in this race thus far. Now trying to get down to the inside of Dickens, pass made. Smith is going to try to follow through. Further back, Brandon Mettler, who ran very strong in the heat race. He too is trying to pluck his way up through the pack. Now to the inside of Everingham here for what would be 14th spot.
And even ahead of that, Dickens starting to slide some more. Balliet watches as Wally Wilson drives to the inside, and oh no! Dickens right hooks Wally Wilson in front of the back end of the field. Thankfully, nobody else involved. Wally Wilson, a lot of damage to that 69 car.
The 3rd caution of the night, and perhaps the most significant damage we've seen so far in any of the 3 incidents, and this came off of turn number 2. It looked as though that Wilson thought that he had Dickens cleared, started to wash up just a little bit. I think Dickens wanted to keep the fender outside there between both that 69 car and the wall, and they ran out of room. We'll get a good look at it here. Wilson clearly up inside on the bottom. It tightens up off the corner. We'll try to see. Oh, man, that's a tough one there. I thought that perhaps Dickens was a little bit closer to the outside retaining wall and didn't have much more room to go, but that view showed there was quite a bit of pavement there, and I'm sure that race control is going to be having an extra look at that one.
Yeah, this one feels a bit like Dickens is hanging off the wall. There's the initial contact. He came down the track, and then I think Brian Dickens is hanging off the wall just a little bit too much. I don't think Wally Wilson was in the wrong necessarily for moving up as high as he did. The unfortunate thing is, of course, let's be honest, I mean, it's Wally Wilson's job to make sure he doesn't run up into Brian Dickens. We'll watch this in slow-mo. We'll even slow it down some more. But, man, it's just a really tough spot for each driver to be in. This is really, really tough.
That's about as close as it could possibly get coming off the corner. The saving grace was the fact that nobody else appeared to be involved. That doesn't do Wally Wilson any good because he took damage on both ends of that race car. But as you said in the live call, Andrew, the fact that this car spun broadside in front of the pack and that nobody else got collected, I think that's about the second or third time that we've had in our 3 yellows where it could have been, instead of just a 1, 2, or 3 car incident, could have been half the field, and everybody's able to get away with it. So unfortunate for Wilson, though fortunate for the rest of the field. And now that we've got a good stretch of green flag racing under our belt, we may see a different look to this field as we enter the final 2/3 of this race. Who managed their stuff in their tires? Who's got a good long run car potentially if we get one? And will the leaders be able to remain up towards the head of the pack? Because we did see some cars stop there, but the top 2 remain unchanged.
Yeah, these are questions we all wanted to ask at North Wilkesboro. Unfortunately, we didn't get to ask them or even get the answers to them. This week, we'll find out as we get our first caution flag after that longer green flag run. A third of the race is done and dusted. Ryan Matthews leads us into third number 2, if you will, across the line. Lap 27 underway. Oh, and they both get the wall. Matthews hard on the wall. McCullum followed, and they all scatter down to turn number 3. We might have a lead change. Joyner down to the bottom side. It's a battle to the line, and it's going to be Matthews leading for now, but Joyner is there.
Like Matthews led the Army off the cliff there off of turn 2, and that opened the door for Joyner, who's inside of the race leader, trying to go from third to first in a couple of laps. McCullum commits outside. Joyner nearly rubs the side of Matthews as they come out of 4, and they're still side by side with McCullum looking low.
Alex McCullum thought about 3 wide right there. Thankfully, he sticks back of it. That should be a great seat to watch it. Let's go ahead and watch from Alex McCullum's perspective as these two battle up front. 15 inside of 51. Slow on the bottom side of 3 and 4. Back on the throttle. They'll race back down to turn 1. It's still Matthews at the line.
And if you're not legitimately thinking about diving to the bottom and going 3 wide, I love the notion by McCullum there to try to fill up the mirror a little bit. Maybe force Joyner into making a mistake and running Matthews wide. Now McCullum switches lanes as we stay side by side for the lead. This is what we hoped for after the incredible heat race. And right now, Joyner, Matthews, and McCullum are putting on an absolute show into turn 1.
Oh, McCullum might have just moved Joyner a little bit, got him into Matthews, and gets that 51 car out of the way. Now the 1 is going to get to the back end of the 15 again. Maybe he's inside of Matthews and is going to try and make quick work of the driver out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, who for the first time is on his heels in the Cars eSport Tour.
Joyner to the point, McCullum to second, Matthews back to third. They got a little bit of breathing room over Mom Burkett, who started to close up from fourth. You see the 16 end of your picture there, and that is your top 4 for now. But this top 3 remains pretty well knotted together. McCullum with a good run off turn 4. Can't quite get inside of Joyner for the lead, back to 1.
These guys still battling really close. This is great stuff as we near halfway. The leader out of Lacoma, North Carolina, that's the same town as Southern National Motorsports Park is located. Ryan Joyner showing us the way around the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Fantastic stuff so far. So glad you're watching along here on Pit Stop TV as it's a pass for the race lead. Potentially McCullum down low. Contact maybe, I don't know. And they're going to rub some fenders a little bit more. McCullum to the inside of Ryan Joyner for the race lead.
Like everybody's starting to wash up wide and nearly scrub the fence there off turn 2. Saw Mom Burkett do that as well as they came off the corner. Side by side for the lead at the stripe. I thought McCullum may have had him by a bumper. Now the timing and scoring with trips to put him out in front. Joyner hanging tough on the outside. Matthews watching. Look out, that got tight off of 2. Joyner squirts out in front.
Yeah, McCullum had to check up a little bit. I think he realized he was going to be in the door of Joyner and just lifted so as to not hit him as Bumgarner's got trouble back here. Keneally and Smith scatter. Now here comes Keneally to the inside of Bumgarner as they stay side by side up front. And that I think Smith might have just gotten into battle yet a little bit. They continue to battle back there and up front. McCullum still working for the race lead. It's lap 36, coming to 37 for halfway.
certainly makes you miss this racetrack oh so much. If you buy a general admission ticket to the grandstands at Myrtle Beach, you never left without being entertained, and this is why. Look at this fight for the top spot here. McCullum edges ahead off the corner. Joyner pulls back even on the straightaway. Matthews trying to fill whatever void is created by this fight, and he is slowly creeping up alongside of Joyner to hopefully get back up to second, or maybe look down low for the lead. McCullum possibly cements the top spot. Nearly got a tap from behind by Matthews as they come off a 2. McCullum to the point. Joyner in the fence. Matthews up to second.
And now Mom Burkett's going to think about trying to challenge that 15 car, bring Caleb Hall into the conversation. This is sensational racing as we eclipse halfway from Myrtle Beach.
Top 5 pretty much under a blanket here. They got a great gap back to Quinton, who rides in 6th. Bumgarner, after getting bounced around, is settled in the 7th. And we finally have an opportunity to catch our breath after watching an incredible fight for the lead that lasted dozens of laps, it appeared. It felt like forever that those three were knotted together. McCullum holds the top spot. Matthews and Joyner still running nose to tail. The question is now, did anybody save anything for this ladder dash to the finish? Or is somebody going to emerge from the midfield perhaps, as they've been trying to take it easy? I'm not sure that's quite the case, though. We've seen a lot of rooting and gouging go on as Justin Johnson slams the wall off 4. These guys are running pretty hard here.
I was just about to praise Justin Johnson. He was up into 13th position. You were talking about the midfield, so it's a perfect segue as, Zachary Myrtle down to the inside, maybe of Mettler. He looked. Thankfully doesn't force it, as Mettler is battling to the inside of Balliet. And Myrtis, you can do 3 wide at the Charlotte Legends Oval in a Legends car. I don't think you can do 3 wide at Myrtle Beach in a late model stock. I'm glad he thought better of that one. He's got that amazing Mark Martin throwback there to Mark Martin's Apache Stoves number 02 way back when. And I mean, he's doing a pretty good justice, I will say. Glad to have that car on the speedway, as Robinson looks maybe to pass the 102, but Mettler and Balliet still locked in a battle for 10th.
Balliet's the car trapped up to the top side. Mettler's had a good climb up through the pack here so far after having to come through the heat race. Started again outside the top 12 by virtue of running in that heat race event that set the second half of this field, and he is now trying to move up one more spot here to get by Balliet to crack the top 10. He's going to have company behind him. Balliet's still trapped up top for now. Mettler now hoping for something perhaps to help re-rack this field a little bit, as he's fallen a ways behind some of the front runners as the top 5 continue to remain in close proximity to one another, but this fight outside the top 10 continues to rage on.
And you can see that Brian Dickens is in the pit lane, as well as Wally Wilson. So troubles for those drivers, and they may be calling it a day. Again, they don't have that fast repair, so they can't get it fixed and get back out there. And that is challenging these drivers this evening. In race number 2 in the 2021 Cars eSport Tour, we eclipse another lap, and it's Myrtis battling on the inside of Balliet. This is for 11th position on the speedway. Matthew Robinson watches on from 13th. He wants to try and get on by for that 12th spot. And a big shout out to the back, well, at least the logo on the back end of Balliet's car, EWRL. That is a whole grouping of, honestly, drivers, leagues, networks, etc., put on by our very own Emerson Arden. And Emerson is currently broadcasting for us in a different series for the Outlaws Sim series. So when we get done here from Myrtle Beach, you can go and watch that. Balliet, what a move. You can see Balliet in a lot of the broadcasts that Emerson does. And Robinson just gave him a shot in the shorts there out of turn 4. This is great racing through the entire field. This is why we miss Myrtle Beach.
This is also why late model stock car racing is one of the best tickets in town. You can give a warning shot to the car up ahead, like we just saw Robinson do to Balliet there. And unless you lift the back tires off the ground, they could keep on trucking. If Balliet knows he's got as much pressure as possible coming from Robinson, who peaks down low on the inside, while Balliet protects the bottom of the approach to turn 1. It's going to give Robinson a chance to drive off the corner on the bottom. We'll move up a little bit here in the field to a fight that started to materialize between Bumgarner, who's in the top 5 in points by virtue of his top 5 finish in North Wilkesboro, and another strong mover in the field. That's Keneally trying to pick up another position here. They nearly banged doors in turn 2. This is the race for 6th spot.
I think they did make some contact there. There's the slightest little bit as Keneally works the bottom, and he's right there on the inside wall of turn 3 and 4. Wants to get that spot away, but Bumgarner gets the run on the front stretch, and Bumgarner holds on for now at the stripe. You can see Keneally gets the advantage into the corner, but again, holding that one car down low is really helping Bumgarner right now. I think Keneally's got it the center of the backstretch there, though, so he might not have it here at the front. We'll see across the line this time. It might be Keneally. Survey says Keneally just barely has the spot, but it's not over yet.
Now, Cole Quinton, as well as Gregory Smith, are loving what they see because that's going to allow them a chance to close in, and Brandon Mettler. We talked about that Mettler may need the aid of a caution to try to get up there and get some more spots. This is someone who's figured out a bit of a long-run car. He's starting to enter the frame here as these two nearly bounce off one another again, this time off turn 4. So this two-car race for 6th on back that continues to tighten up. Both Mettler just had a glove save and a beauty there on the left side of your picture. I should say right side of your picture. It may turn into a 4, perhaps 5-car battle before this race draws to a close.
Caution.
If we stay green, and we will not.
How about that for timing? Troubles for Steele Langford, it looks like, and Cole Freilich may be around. Dustin Johnson had damage. My goodness, a lot of cars torn up. Joshua Balliette's got a lot of damage as well. Something has really gone awry.
Big hit for Balliette. He's got a lot of damage there to the right front, left, rear. Pretty much all 4 corners of that race car have sustained impact in one capacity or another. And we were watching that fight just outside of the top 10 here. And you see him here battling with Justin Johnson. That's Johnson on the bottom in the yellow 44, Balliette up top in the white, red, and black number 7, and Cole Freilich in the black 26 in tow. This is going to be at least 3 of the cars involved in the incident. Let's see what happens as they come off turn 2.
Oh! Man, that's a painful one to see, as several cars getting damaged. Justin Johnson just kind of pushed up into Joshua Balliette at a turn 2, and chain reaction from there.
Very similar to the crash that we saw with Wally Wilson earlier on in the night. However, this one looked as though that Johnson pretty much just lost all the ability to turn the car exiting turn number 2. He was someone who, as we said, was very fun to watch in practice, did not have the run in qualifying he would have hoped for, made it in through the heat race, and had been slowly working his way up through the field. And this will give us another good look at it here as they come off the corner. That car is already pushing up towards the outside retaining wall, and Balliette is still at the door, and they both careen up into the wall. And we mentioned the bad luck streak that Cole Freilich has been on. I'll add this to the list as well. He pretty much had nowhere to go, running right in behind these two as they slam into the fence here. And some more incredible wreck avoidance as Trey Patton comes up, slices his way through on the inside of Balliette, and then outside of the sideways Johnson. Well, one car ended up spinning down to the pit lane. That's a great job there by Trey Patton, missing that one.
That really was, and that was Freilich in the pit lane, and Langford joined him. Wow, what a crash. Justin Johnson, I mean, that's one you don't want to see get wadded up in this race. He is our currently lone Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour competitor in the field. Jonathan Schaefer, in case you're wondering, has registered for the series. I'd imagine will join in on these races in due time. As you can see, Johnson on the pit lane. I don't think he's going to beat the pace car, unfortunately, as this field is going to double up and go back at it. What I do want to praise each and every one of these drivers for is, look at this, Eric. In contrast to 16 yellows and 75 laps at North Wilkesboro, we've only got 4 for 17 so far, and 6 lead changes up front. What a race it has been. What a night of racing overall here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. This place has put on a fantastic show, and these drivers have along with it. Everything is working so far as Alex McCullum will lead us to the green flag. This might be the money restart for everybody in the field. Coming to the restart zone, green flag back out, and it's McCullum with the lead. You see the 4-3 wide at a turn number 2. Bumgarner inside of Monburquette and Keneally up top, and it works this time. 3-3 and 4. They stay 3 wide for an entire lap.
Now the pay window is getting ready to open there as it looks as though Matthews lost the spot there to Joyner. He'll fall back to 3rd. This fight continues off the corner of turn 2. Everybody so far, we got one on the wall behind him, keeps it straight. Joyner to 2nd, McCullum's still the leader, Matthews 3rd. Bumgarner still trying to get by Bomberket for what would be a spot in the top 5 as we are coming up on 15 laps to go next time by, and McCullum is trying to nurse that Carlington a half lead off 2.
You can see these guys battling further back in the top 10 as Joyner slides into second and really is going to make Matthews work for it. These guys battling through the top 10. It looks like Keneally is still behind Bumgarner. Wants to get that spot away as Mettler leads Gregory, Smith, and Robinson, who are side by side. Myrtle on the outside of Everingham back here. And oh, here comes, who is that? Cole Quinton, yeah, in the 18 car. He looked to the inside of, it looks like, Everingham. And those guys are racing for the same speed lab, Reaper Speed Lab, adorning both of those machines. Here comes Cole Quinton to the inside of the 48 again. And oh, he's on the humps down there on the inside of 1 and 2.
Little bumps there on the bottom of the racetrack. I remember them highlighting them in the 2000 then Busch Series television coverage of the last Major League Stock Car race that was held there of one of NASCAR's top 3 touring series. And they remain, and they can upset that race car. They somehow survived it. He gets the spot, slams the door on Everingham there going into turn number 1, and now we'll try to get 2 more. That's Gregory Smith and Robinson side by side ahead of him, with Brandon Mettler running in 8th. Fights all throughout the field here as we approach what will be the final run to the checkers, with McCullum still holding down the top spot.
Great save for Parnell back in the background there, but up front it's all Alex McCullum leading this top 3 around. Joyner sits in second, Matthews in third, Caleb Hall, how about that recovery drive, up into 4th position, just slowly and methodically working his way through this top 10. He was certainly the focus of a lot at North Wilkesboro. A much calmer race for him this evening at Myrtle Beach, but he slides into turn 1 that time in front of Dustin Momberket, and it's going to be Bumgarner with Robbie Keneally to his inside.
I will tell you, Keneally and Bumgarner have been attached at the hip throughout the second half of this race. It's been pretty amazing to watch this fight continue on, albeit 1 spot shy of the top 5. Car on the move, though, is that of Cole Quinton. I'm not sure that he didn't stop and put tires on, perhaps, by the way in which that car is coming to life here, but it might be too little too late. So we'll see how far up the running order he can get here if he doesn't get another caution, because right now Quinton is on the move.
He did make a stop for tires. It looks like a 23 second stop. I believe that is long enough to get 4 tires on one of these late models, while Colton Everingham a little further back also pitted on that same caution. It looks like he pitted for only 13 seconds. That would tell me that he, or no, actually 11.2. That tells me he likely got 2 tires as opposed to 4. The other pit stops in that caution were Purnell, Langford, and Jackson, and Baticki, but I think those were all for damage, as our leaders are still on the same tires they started on. So certainly notice for the entire top 5 if that 18 car continues on this tear through the field.
Now Quinton up to 7th. Bumgarner's next on the hit list, and Alex McCullum is doing everything possible to just log laps and pray that we do not get a caution. Bumgarner there up into the side of Bomberket. He's sideways. They're 3 wide off the corner. Quinton with 2 for 1, and they save it.
I think Bumgarner had help. Momberket wants to pay it back. He almost gets there, and he gets moved. Here comes Keneally on the inside of Bumgarner. 5 laps to go at the stripe.
They're going to stay 3 wide at turn 1. Keneally, Bumgarner sideways on the entry to the corner. Now Brandon Mettler's trying to get up into the mix. This may not be for the lead, but this is for a top 10 position, and these guys are sailing it off into the corner. Look at Bumgarner's car step out sideways as Keneally scrubs the left side of the 97 as they flash across the line. Now finally Keneally gets the spot. Bumgarner back to 7.
Look at that bump and run from Bumgarner trying to move Keneally up the racetrack, and it's Momberket in the wall hard. He gets Mettler. They save it for now down to turn 3, but Mettler now on the inside as Bumgarner looks back to the inside of Keneally. 3 laps to go that time across the stripe. This is what late model stock racing is about. This is what you can expect from not only the Cars eSport Tour, but also the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour.
It is this powder keg going to explode before we get to the white flag? It'll be 2 to go on McCullum, the leader. Quinton up to 5th. This is the best race we've got going right now for 6th, with Momberket waiting in the wings. Still, door to door, 97 Bumgarner outside the 1 of Keneally, and this fight may rage all the way back to the checkered flag.
It just might, as they all get the wall right there. Keneally, Monburquette, Myrtle all on the fence, but it's going to be the Tucson Sound Art white flag for race leader Alex McCullum down to turns 1 and 2. The one car with 0-9 on his quarter panel continues to lead, and down the backstretch for the final time, nobody can touch, nobody can beat the number 1 car this evening. It is all Phillipsburg's Alex McCullum across the stripe, and he wins Cars eSport to a round number 2 at Myrtle Beach.
Came up one spot short at North Wilkesboro, gets the job done here. How about the charge by Cole Quinton to get up to 5th late in the going? But it's all about Alex McCullum, a driver who has stamped himself in as potentially a championship favorite for this Cars eSports Tour. As we mentioned, the runner-up finished at North Wilkesboro, but here tonight, when at one point all 3 cars appeared to be equally matched in the midway point of this race, he got himself up into P1, matched the car number to the finish. He'll nudge the concrete retaining wall in the celebratory donuts, and McCullum will burn down the house here in the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway and celebrate a Cars Tour eSports win.
A really, really strong showing from Alex McCullum. Gets the win over Ryan Joyner and Ryan Matthews, a couple of really strong drivers in and of their own. And it's going to be the 1 car parking in victory lane. What a race we had this evening. Can we just reflect on that for a moment before we get to everything else post-race? What a fantastic race. I mean, we had changing conditions. We had tires wearing out. We had drivers slipping and sliding around, comers and goers. We had it all here at Myrtle Beach. This is what short track racing is about.
A race like this really tug on your heartstrings a little bit, especially if you've been following the sport for quite some time. I remember being 10 years old, watching, as I mentioned in the broadcast, a then Busch Series race at this venue, seeing many late models and tour races with modifieds here before, and it just makes you miss the fact that we may never get to see that in a real-world setting again, but it does make us ultra thankful that we have the opportunity to do things like this. Take these late model stock cars, put them on this venue that was oh so special to us for so many years, and we saw every example as to why. Tires made a big difference in how the top 5 shook out. We had great racing throughout the top 3, and Alex McCullum obviously extremely elated to capture top honors here in the 2nd Cars Tour eSports race of the season.
And with reason as well. I mean, can you blame him? He has got to be excited about that one. What a fantastic race. Came down to those final couple of restarts. Well, that final restart, really, that final yellow that we had after that long green flag run with all of the midfield battles and everything, it was those guys fighting up front that eventually decided things. And I mean, he just aced the restart. He did everything he had to do there at the end, nailed the restart, and nobody could catch him on that final run to the end. It wasn't Ryan Joyner, it wasn't Ryan Matthews, nobody could get to him. It was, 15 laps or so to the checkers, and McCullum aced every single one of them. So don't go anywhere. We'll be talking with McCullum and Ryan Joyner and Ryan Matthews in just a few moments. Post-race coverage on the way from the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway. You're watching Pit Stop TV with coverage of the Cars eSport Tour.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of 2 products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway. What a race. I mean, what a race. Alex McCollum ends up getting the win over Ryan Joyner, Ryan Matthews, and more, but what a fantastic race. This is everything short track racing is supposed to be it real or sim. This is everything you can expect out of the Cars Tour, real and virtual. What a fantastic day of racing at Myrtle Beach. I can't get over it. Just amazing stuff through and through. And the good news is we get to talk to a few drivers here at the end of the day. Of course, leading off with race winner Alex McCollum in the number 1 car. And what a show it was with those guys battling. We'll move him on in. And Alex, what a show. This was a much better race than North Wilkesboro, and you guys had to be on your toes all 75 laps.
Yeah, that was actually really good racing with me and Ryan. I'm just glad we got some green flag wraps there. Better than last week for sure, but honestly proud of everyone tonight for actually able to race tonight and not trying to drive through each other, but it showed how good this league can be if we stay green.
Absolutely, it showed how good all of you drivers are, and it showed that you guys were here to race this evening, and that's what's so special about what we've got this season in the Cars eSport Tour. Shows us a lot more promise, certainly, we'll just be honest, than at North Wilkesboro. And what it allowed us to do was watch you guys battle on tires that were starting to give away. You guys had a lot of start-stop, a few heat cycles, sure, at North Wilkesboro, but tonight, as the sun set, the temperatures climbed, and then, of course, dropped, you guys wore those tires off, and you had to chase the race car a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, Matthews made a mistake early on going in the wall, what causes him getting the lead, and I followed him right in the wall, and luckily, I didn't hit it too hard to lose more positions, but it was just a mistake on both of our parts. But honestly, it put up a pretty good battle with us top 3.
It wasn't just a pretty good battle. That was a fantastic battle, and one that we're certainly going to have to clip into some highlights and put on Facebook and Twitter. That was great stuff from you guys. How do you hold your composure here on the sim? Battling with each other and getting into each other a little bit. Certainly, there were some bump and runs, there were some door bangs. How do you keep your composure through all of that?
It's a lot of trust, honestly. Like, sometimes you got to put yourself in position and trust the other person, but luckily these guys know what they're doing, so you can put yourself into those positions. So that's what makes good racing, if you know what the other person's going to do. So it overall is just a really good race.
And of course, Alex, we've got a lot of people watching these races and from different backgrounds, along with all of your different backgrounds in the series. Where exactly do you come from? Why are you a race fan? Why are you into racing? And why are you here in the Cars eSport Tour?
I just love racing. Who doesn't like racing? But I got in racing because my family did it. And then I'm like, well, I want to try it. So I started in real life, racing Bandoleros, and then I moved up to Legend Cars, and then I got into iRace, and then, well, here I am.
And are you still racing? Where can these guys watch you?
I race all over the country, following the U.S. Legend Car Tour, all over the country, racing in any state every weekend. But they can find me any track I go to.
Yeah, I know I've seen you a couple of times down at Charlotte for summer shootouts and some other places, so it's cool to see guys that, hey, I recognize that guy from the sim. He's out there racing in real life. Awesome, that's so cool. So it is cool to see when I see your name on Race Monitor or whatever at these Legend Car races. So it's good to see you on the sim as well. Very good to see you get this win this evening at Myrtle Beach. Who do you have to thank? Who do you want to shout out this evening?
I got to thank 09 Motorsports, McCall Manufacturing, Studio 10 Wraps, you guys for broadcasting and putting the Cars Tour eSports together. It's pretty cool to give us sim racers a chance to race against some of these Car Tour guys that some people don't have the funding to go out and race in real life with the Cars Tour guys, so we can race with these guys online. So very thankful that you guys are doing this. Should be a good season.
Yeah, I know you guys were out there on the same track as Justin Johnson this evening, Cars Tour competitor. So, I mean, he didn't have the greatest run necessarily, but I'm sure that learning curve will be swept away in a couple of weeks' time at Langley. It was good to see you this evening, Alex. Good to see you get this race win, and we'll talk to you next time out at Langley Speedway.
Thank you.
Alex McCullum finishing up on a night well done. 41 laps led, Eric. A really stellar night for the one car, and it was all in front of this guy finishing second place, Ryan Joyner.
I'll bring in welcome flying Ryan Joyner into the booth, fresh off this runner-up finish. And Ryan, we just heard from Alex McCullum after his victory here tonight, and obviously the biggest talking point was the incredible race between he, yourself, and Ryan Matthews, the North Wilkesboro winner. I know second is one spot shy of the general objective, but I have to ask you first off, how much fun did you have tonight? Because it looked great from our perspective.
Oh, it was a ton of fun. I love racing with Alex and Ryan. They make every race we do together so much fun, and it's always so competitive because we're all so fast.
Alex used the term trust when describing being around you two, and is that something that you would consider relatable? You mentioned the fact there's a history, you guys kind of know each other and how each other races. Does that factor into the type of product that we got to see during that green flag fight for the lead?
Yeah, definitely. I raced with Ryan a lot back in go-karts. We grew up racing go-karts together sometimes, and we always raced each other good, always hung out a lot off the track. And me and Alex has had raced a ton off and on iRacing.
Now, when we get back to the race itself there, I know we had that long stretch of green flag racing towards the end. What did you need there at the finish to try to get up to and perhaps even around Alex to grab this win here tonight? Was there anything you could have done differently?
I think I could have moved my brake bias earlier, and maybe that would have helped me save the right front. But there at the end, I just didn't have the right front I needed to keep up with Alex.
Well, nevertheless, you put together a really strong and impressive run. In doing a little bit of research for our conversation here, I see that you collected your first pole at South Boston in limited sportsman competition. One of the highlights of this series is to bring a number of current and active racers, not just from the Cars Tour, but all around the country. So, you got limited sportsman contests at South Boston. If you can, tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about your racing background, how you got here, and what your plans are for this year and maybe beyond.
I've raced go-karts all my life, so I've been really successful with that and won a lot of races. But this year we decided to try something new, and we're loving it, and we're doing really good for my rookie year. First time ever being in a car or anything. So in go-karts we pretty much won everything we could in juniors. So we got out of it and we went to cars, and I'd say we're doing pretty good.
Well, if the sim is any indication, you seem to have this full-bodied stock car thing figured out. I want to ask quickly, do you have plans to attend the remaining eSports Tour races? Because we've got 4 left, and we would love to have you for all of them at the show that you guys put on tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I hope I get a drop, because if I get a drop, I think I'll be all right in points. But if I don't, I mean, it's kind of like racing for nothing, but I love racing with these guys anyway.
I will step in real quick, and I will tell you live on air here, buddy, you do get a drop week. Everybody gets a drop week, so that's going to help you out a lot, but I'll turn it back over to Eric.
Well, that's good news and breaking news there for Ryan Joyner, who may be going for a championship here once the math falls into place. And Ryan, before we let you go, because you got a lot to be proud of tonight, man. Again, I'm sure we're all going to go back and rewatch this one because that was a thriller. Who do you have to thank? Who makes nights like this possible? Who makes it possible for you when you're running that limited sportsman in South Boston? Just quick shout out to all your supporters.
KW Locksmith, Wayne's Collision, Wilson Starter Generator, my granny, my mom, my pa, my dad, Craig Moore Racing, RNS Racing Chassis, Rouse Racing Engines, everybody that helps me along the way, all the little stuff.
Absolutely incredible. Ryan, we appreciate you being here tonight. Thanks for putting on such a show, and we're looking forward to seeing you in that 15 car in our remaining races for this eSports Tour. Great job tonight, bud.
Oh, I have one more, RyanJoynerRacing.com.
There you go. We'll be sure to check it out. I'll certainly be heading over there right now. Ryan Joyner, our runner-up tonight here, and what was a thriller at the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway. Ryan, great job, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And now we'll turn it back over to Andrew Cardinale IV, who is standing by the driver who's had a great start to the season, had to settle for third tonight in Ryan Matthews.
And it's certainly looking like Ryan Matthews just might hold on to that points lead. It's going to be close, though. What a race up front. And Ryan, I know you got a pretty bit of I think a layup win would be okay to say for North Wilkesboro. You were able to control the restarts and just hang on. But this week you had to really race for it. And, well, it showed. You didn't quite get the race win, even though you had fantastic speed all night. But you got bested by those couple of guys. What happened?
Yeah, we had a strong run at the beginning of the race. We qualified on the pole by just 100th over Alex, so it's a pretty tight qualifying field right there. And then we led the first handful of laps, and we had one restart. I was clear coming off of 2, and I just got into the wall. I just overestimated it, and I think Alex actually followed me into it as well, and that gave Joyner the lead. And then, like you saw, we were side by side racing, me, Alex, and Joyner for a good 20 or so laps there, and I think it got the best of me, and I burned off my tires a little too much there, and kind of gave up some speed towards the end of the race that we should have had. But all in all, it was a really fun race, way better than North Wilkesboro. We actually got some long green flag runs there and be able to race it out, and we were racing each other really hard, and it was fun.
So a couple of races down now in North Carolina and South Carolina, but the next race out at Langley, September 1st, in 2 weeks. We're going somewhere that you know pretty darn well. I see on your resume it lists 2019 Larry King Law's Langley Speedway champion. Tell us about that and how excited you must be for race number 3.
Yeah, I love Langley. It's probably is my favorite track, on the service and in real life. And we raced legend cars there back in 2019, and we were able to have a pretty stout year. We won a bunch of races there, and we locked up the championship for that year. And so that was an awesome year there, and it's good facility. I love that place, and I think it's going to bring some really good racing. There's not much of a top groove there, but neither is Myrtle Beach, and you saw a lot of side by side racing here today. So I think it's going to be a really good show in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's when you have to get down and fight rough and tumble for that bottom line that you guys definitely seem to shine. Great racing through and through. And of course, I mentioned you're a Langley track champion. You're also a Dominion track champion. Tell everybody watching, if they don't know anything about you just yet, what you do in real life and your racing career and where you might be headed.
Yeah, I started my racing career out in go-karts, and raced against a lot of good guys, especially Ryan Joyner. We raced a lot against each other a lot. Almost every race back in the day, we were racing against each other. So we've got a lot of memories back in the day with him, and we moved up to legend cars in 2017 and ran those for quite a few years. Got some championships, almost won the national title, but unfortunately, we didn't have things go our way in the national race back in 2019, and that kind of ended things there for us. But we ran Legends in 2020 also, and then we moved up to the limited late model this year, and we've had pretty good success this year. We've won 7 out of the 10 races. Fortunately, last race, our right rear tire went down, so it sucks, but that's part of it, and you just come back stronger. So we've been running that this year, and it's been going awesome, and I couldn't expect it to go any better. And so that's pretty much my racing career. I'm always on iRacing, trying to just keep my game up and just get some laps every day, and just it helps me out so much. And especially racing against guys like we did tonight, it helps you out. It helps your racecraft out so much. So that's pretty much my racing career right there.
Well, there you go. That's everything that you need to know about Ryan Matthews. And everything else I think that you need to know has already been on display so far. A really, really fast driver here on the sim and in real life. Fantastic work this evening, Ryan. 3rd place is nothing to scoff at. Who do you have to thank? Who do you want to shout out?
Yeah, I just got to thank all my sponsors, S&M Auto Service, Pendleton Forest Products, Denise Matthews Real Estate, James River Nurseries, REM Concrete and Seal Coating, Midnight Performance, everybody who supports me week in and week out on the sim and real life. Just can't thank all of them enough. And obviously can't thank all you guys for putting this show on. It was an awesome race tonight, and glad to have something to do on Wednesday night. So really appreciate all of y'all that put this on.
Absolutely. Want to thank you for the show that you put on out there with Alex and Ryan and Caleb and everybody else. Congratulations on a podium this evening, buddy. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks at Langley.
Thank you.
Ryan Matthews getting things done this evening. Again, not quite that win that he might have wanted, of course, to back things up from North Wilkesboro a couple of weeks ago there, Eric. But still a really, really strong run for everybody up on the top 3, and everybody else in the top 10. Let's take a look at our race results. In fact, of course, taking the win is Alex McCullum by just under a second over Ryan Joyner. Ryan Matthews there with third place. Caleb Hall fourth. Cole Quinton in fifth. Robbie Keneally finishes sixth this evening. Bumgardner takes seventh. Mon Burkett eighth. Colton Everingham, how about that for Colton coming through the heat? And not all that great of a showing in the heat either. He drove through the field up into ninth, along with Brandon Metler in 10th.
Second page of our finishers takes us back to Matthew Robinson, who I thought was going to be a little bit stronger by the muscle that he was able to flex in the heat race earlier. One spot shy of a top 10 finish tonight. Zachary Mertes was 12th, Gregory Smith 13. Steele Langford, despite being involved in two of the cautions that we had tonight, able to rally back to be the first car, one lap down in 14th. Jared Jackson was 15th. Jacob Atiki, who was one of the last cars to make it in fact, the last car to make it in the heat race, finishes one lap down, but in 16th spot. Trey Patton, who gets the wreck avoidance move of the night on the back straightaway, was 2 laps back at 17th, and then we hit some of the drivers who had trouble. Austin Purnell was involved in an accident that did not bring out the yellow flag. We saw Justin Johnson, one of the Cars Tour regulars, crash late in 19th, and Joshua Balliette takes you through your 20th place finisher.
Only 4 cars left, and those are Cole Freilich, Wally Wilson, Brian Dickens, and James Fox, all with early exits this evening from Myrtle Beach, but pretty darn good starts from a couple of those guys, especially Cole Freilich and Wally Wilson. Cole Freilich, the heat winner. Fantastic fashion there in those 20 laps, unfortunately getting caught up in a couple of incidents here this evening in the feature and just doesn't quite make it to the end. But again, what a fantastic show, and Eric, it would not be possible without our partners here at Pit Stop TV. Of course, Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. Use promo code PitStopTV at checkout for 10% off of your order today, as well as Race Pace Setups, the official road setup provider of Pit Stop TV. And boy, those are going to be in high demand here for the rest of 2021. A lot of great road racing special events and leagues coming up. You definitely want to check out Race Pace Setups, as well as Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, where you deserve the best care that money can buy, and Ashley Bollier and her team of professionals are ready to provide it to you with locations in places like Lewiston, Auburn, Saco, and Naples, Maine. You want to check out permanentmakeupinmaine.com today, as well as Whiplash Media, the official broadcast, graphic, and camera provider of Pit Stop TV, and BAM Racing Videos by a race fan for the racing community. And Eric, I gotta ask, final thoughts here from Myrtle Beach. There's a lot to comb through.
I feel like that we've hit the nail on the head as far as the package, the way in which we're going to set our fields, the tracks in which we go to. I know that North Wilkesboro, there was a lot of angst, a lot of anticipation, a lot of interest for the series. I feel like now that we kind of got the kinks out there and we have this formula in place, the remaining 4 races for this series cannot get here fast enough as far as I'm concerned. I think the tracks are perfect. I think the talent that we have is perfect. I think the race lengths are perfect, and I cannot wait to see how these remaining 4 events unfold for the Cars Tour Esports Series, because tonight was just a true dream come true. I know we had a couple of yellows. There was a little bit of a slow start there with 2 cautions in the first 10 laps, but that battle for the lead we had there in the midway portion, the battle that we had for 6th on back in the closing stages, it's a short track racer and lover's dream, and I think we provided that here tonight for all 75 laps.
Look at this angle as well off the backstretch, how close these guys were getting to the wall, and getting the wall a lot this evening, certainly. That turn to wall paid a few drivers in a way they didn't quite want. Just what a great showing this evening. We can say it all day long. Let's take a look real quickly before we go at the current Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour late model stock standings. These will be changed next time we're on air for Cars Esports Tour action at Langley, because they are racing up in Virginia on August, what will it be, 28th? Yes, 28th, up at Motor Mile Speedway. Bobby McCarty will enter with the points lead. Caden Honeycutt in second, then Jared Fryer, Justin Johnson, Deke McCaskill, your top 5, and Justin Johnson was in the field this evening. He ran, and let's see, he finished in the, I gotta recap this for myself, he finished in the 19th position. Not the greatest showing, of course. He got caught up in a couple of incidents there, 9 laps down, but was here, was really quick in practice, fifth quick in practice, in fact, showed that he's got what it takes to contend on iRacing in these late model stocks, and now we'll get to go do it in the real thing in a couple of weeks at Motor Mile and see if he can get a little bit closer to that points lead. Already a couple of wins in the season at Dillon and Caraway, so Justin Johnson looking pretty good so far. We'll see how he does in a couple of weeks and let you guys know, certainly on social media. The other thing we'll let all of these guys know about on social media here in the coming days here, Eric, is our upcoming broadcast through the next week.
Actually, right now, the one race we don't have on there is the Outlaw Sim Series. They're underway as we speak. Emerson Arden is running our crew over there, so once we log off and get down from our production here with the Car Store Esports Series, we're going to head over and see how that race unfolds with the trucks. I believe they're on Bristol Dirt tonight, as a matter of fact. So if you want to get a road racing fix, we got the North American Racing League taking place tomorrow night at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. I know that I'm a little bit dejected that for the second year in a row we're not going to see the NASCAR Series in action up north. But we will be able to fulfill that bit of our interest that we may have in the motorsports rankings tomorrow night here. Then, of course, the Nork iRacing Series. They are one race into their 7-race chase for the championship. Their second stop en route to a title decider is going to be at the Texas Motor Speedway on Tuesday night at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time. You do not want to miss that. And the Outlaw Sim Series will get a little bit of short track racing in for the week next Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. from Martinsville. We got a little bit of everything here on the platform, and there's so much more still to come here on Pit Stop TV, and there's a lot of ways for all of you to stay abreast to all that we got cooking here on the platform.
Yeah, I mean, there is certainly a lot to keep watching for, and it's not just these races coming up either. If you look through the rest of our schedule coming up, we've got NARL that following week as well at Suzuka, and then, of course, continuing on each week with mostly Nork and Outlaw and NARL action through the rest of the summer and into the fall. So a lot to keep watching for, and, of course, the Cars eSport Tour is back in a couple of weeks on September 1st with action from Larry King Law's Langley Speedway. That was a great race back at the start of June for the real tour, and Caden Honeycutt even got his first win, and he's an iRacer as well. Caden Honeycutt racing for Justin Johnson Racing. Fantastic stuff from him this season. He almost won at Caraway. His boss got the win, and then he went out the next race at Langley and won the darn thing as a rookie. So there's a lot to keep watching for, especially at Langley in a couple of weeks, and I hope you all make it back here at Pit Stop TV for those races. And, of course, you can follow along with us on social media. A lot of action going on there as well as at Facebook.com/PitStopTV, Twitter.com/PitStopTV_, Instagram.com/Pit_Stop_TV, as well as Twitch.tv/Pit_Stop_TV, and of course YouTube.com/C/PitStopTV1. A lot of places to keep up with Pit Stop TV, a lot of places to keep abreast on all of our racing and social media stuff, and certainly I think it's well worth it, Eric.
Oh, yeah, it's first of all, I have a blast. I've been fortunate enough to be part of the North team for a while. We have IORL events that just wrapped up their season a week ago. In fact, let's give a tip of the cap to Zach Buchanan, who helps us out on the administrative side of these Car Store Esports events. And this series, I missed the opener at North Wilkesboro with some traveling commitments. Happy to be here tonight, and there's so much going on, so many good people behind the scenes. I'll shout out Trey Shuttlesworth, who, again, did an amazing job on the social media side tonight. If you go to any of the links provided on the bottom, you'll see Trey's hard work and dedication put in there, and you'll see a lot more activity in the coming days, maybe even some highlights and some additional insight as to how tonight's race unfolded, as you guys always stay busy with Pit Stop TV, and Andrew, you have a lot to do with it, and you do a great job, man, from top to bottom. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Well, you're a pretty integral part of it as well, Eric. A lot of people make things happen, and a lot of things seem to have gone right here lately, and it's all credit to everybody putting in their hard work. We'll advance to a live picture here, and there are still fans out here taking pictures of the Cars eSport drivers even after things are wrapped up, and you can see we are into nighttime at this point, live here at the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway. That will do it. Before we go, make sure to, again, follow us on social media. Follow us on our streaming channels, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and the lot, and just keep up with Pit Stop TV. We'll see you next time. This has been it from the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway in the virtual Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Happy to have had you all here tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. For all of Pit Stop TV, and of course the small grouping that I have along with me this evening, Eric Brennan and Trey Shuttlesworth on the mic and on social media, my name has been Andrew Cardinale IV. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next time. Have a fantastic night.